Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Catalan capital, the city in the northeast of Spain. Of course, it's the home of the Spanish Formula One Grand Prix. This is Barcelona. This is the final round of the 2021 GTOpen International Championship. Great to have your company wherever you are watching us live all around the world. Ian Silvestrin with you in commentary. Once again, I will be joined in just a few moments by Ida Wood. Makes his way up from pit lane as the cars come out onto the circuit. A beautiful morning here in Spain, if somewhat chilly overnight, but we are expecting a dry track for not only qualifying today and tomorrow, and of course our two races here. This is the final round of the championship. The green flag flies and the cars make their way out onto the circuit here this morning. It is still quite chilly, so they will be warming up the Michelin tyres as we see one of the McLarens out onto the track to lead the field around. A great field here for the final round of the 2021 championship. 29 cars on circuit. Well, there shall be in a moment. 29 cars here at the track. So we look at Nicolas van Dierendonck in car 53, who had a stunning drive in the rain at Monza, of course, racing in the GT Cup class. We are joined by the GT Cup cars here. They are racing together with the GT3 International GTOpen cars. TF Sport, they are back with the winning Aston Martin. They took that fantastic victory. They've got two new drivers this weekend. They took that win in, it was at the Red Bull Ring, wasn't it? A couple of months ago now. We look at the Vincenzo Sesferi Racing Lamborghinis. They're down in pit lane. AF Course, they're back with us. Ida Wood joins me up in commentary. A beautiful morning, great excitement. We've got spectators back in the grandstands. Really looking forward to this.
Yeah, it's great to see so many people here, and particularly in the paddock as well. People approaching for next year's plans and what GT Sport is doing. And regarding the grandstands, actually the route to this commentary box was blocked, so I had to climb up the back of the grandstands over several 6-foot fences to get in here. So they're not open fully yet, but they will be soon once everyone, once the spectators are here. It was a great little run, the traditional GT Sport route of me taking the most convoluted way to get to the commentary box. But back to the action.
I thought it was a long walk.
Yeah, we have got 29 cars here today. Now, Barcelona is a pretty tight circuit in places. Even the pit straight is fairly narrow. It's 3 wide at a push, but normally it's 2 wide. And the pace difference between the GT Cup Open cars and the GT Open cars is around 7 seconds per lap, we're expecting. So that means on a qualifying run, let's say you're on a out lap in a GT Open car, but you're actually on a flying lap in a GT Cup Open car, you're actually going to be at a fairly similar pace, which when you're all coming out of the pits together means there's going to be a lot of traffic. And that is why we're actually seeing more of the GT Cup Open cars out right now, and a lot of our leading GT Open cars, such as the Spinelli Mercedes and the Vincenzo Sesferi Lambos, they're all staying in the pits. But on track right now, we can see is the number 15 Mercedes, which is all the way down the order. We've only got 25 cars we can see on our timing screen. There are, of course, a few more here today. So if they're at the very bottom, we're not really going to be sure what position they're in if they're in the bottom 4.
Mario Hirsch out on the circuit at the moment in the menacing Mercedes AMG, sharing the car with Dominic Schrammel, the German team, Twin Busch by Equip Vitesse. You may remember the very first round of the championship at Paul Ricard, their weekend, their championship initially ended after just a few hundred meters, involved in that massive crash where this car was almost upside down into turn 1 in the opening race of the opening round of the championship. They've made a couple of appearances since, and they're back with us for the championship final. This is one of the AF Course cars, Cedric Spirituoli, the car being pushed back. In fact, it's a Jay Schriebman in the sister car. The 51 car, Jay Schriebman and Oswaldo Negri, the American drivers joining us from the Ferrari Challenge in North America. That car was actually involved in a big accident in practice on Thursday. In fact, I'll correct that. That was not the car involved in that accident in practice. A new car was shipped from Italy overnight. It was put on track, and obviously there's something not quite set up perfectly on it. It's been a huge effort from the AF Corsa team. So that is actually a new car. The crashed car, it didn't look too bad, but when we're talking crashes in a Ferrari supercar, well, there's no such thing as a small car, a small crash. That was actually a new car that's been shipped in, so obviously a few teething problems. It's been pushed back to the garage.
Yeah, and the front end was totally ripped off, but it was almost where the internals did look all right, and basically it's kind of cheaper to just bring a whole new car than individually bring all the components you need and then replacing them. You just got a new car, you can take it out the box and pretty much do what you want with it. At the moment, we've only had 3 or 4 drivers who have set realistic representative lap times. Jim Pla of Formula Renault fame in the late 2000s, I think he did French Formula Renault. He's currently leading the way at 1 minute 43.9. Here's a bit of traffic here between Alfaisal Alzubert, who's overtaking, I think, a GT Cup open car. Alzubert had a crash as well during free practice. He binned it fairly early on Friday morning, I think, but the car was recovered, and actually by the end of the session, the Porsche was one of the fastest, so wasn't too much damage done.
Alfaisal Alzubert on a flying lap at the moment. Great to have the ACA team back with us in the GTOpen International Championship. Car 87 being driven by the 2 French drivers, Jim Pla, as you just heard, a former single-seater ace, actually won a round of the FIA Formula 3 Championship around about a decade ago before shifting his career GT-wards and racing largely in the Porsche Carrera Cup Championship in France and in Europe as well. A couple of rounds in the Super Cup. Goes down into turn 1 in the 87 ACA Mercedes AMG car, sharing the car with Thomas Drouet. Jim Pla currently on provisional pole position at this early stage of the session. Brendan Irebe, the American in car 7, one of the 2 Optimum Motorsport Inception Racing McLarens here this weekend. Brendan in P3 at the moment, and the 72 car yet to come out onto the circuit. Jim Pla continues another lap. This is Alfaisal Alzubert, whose teammate Andy Soucek still mathematically in with a chance of winning the 2021 GTOpen International Championship. Alfaisal Alzubert actually missing a round as we look at the aforementioned McLaren. This is car 7, the American Brendan Irebe, currently in position 3 with a 1:45.901. That was his first lap. He's about to complete his second flying lap. Andy Soucek, 3rd in the championship, sharing the car with Alfaisal Alzubert, who is currently in P2 on the grid. We'll check this time as Brendan Irebe comes across the line in the 7 McLaren and actually drops down to, stays in position 3, so it's still Jim Pla, Alfaisal Alzubert and Brendan in P3.
Yeah, Cedric Spizzaroli had actually just gone past him for 3rd place, and then he reclaimed the position. Exiting pits right now is Jens Renault Moller in the Renault Racing Honda. But our Vincenzo Suspiri Lambos are still just sitting there in the pits, so I think they are waiting for a clean track. We've had a fair bit of track evolution. You can see rubber being laid down already. It did rain between Thursday and Friday and washed away a lot of the rubber that had been laid down, but I think between yesterday morning and yesterday evening there's an improvement around 1.5 seconds, which is fairly decent. And also because the last round of the season, you're not having to save your tyres for the next round, potentially not even for the last race if you're focusing on Saturday. So you know, they're going to go all out in this qualifying session.
Cedric Spirituale, Jan Seifert in the Green Tiger 17 HP Racing International Lamborghini in P5 at the moment. Sean Balfe Motorsport back with us in the GTOpen International Championship. P6 at the moment from Marcin Jedlinski. Yuki Nomoto has just gone out onto the circuit. No, in fact, he's still parked in the lane.
Very close between the 52 Ferrari and the Porsche behind it. It looks like he's getting a little wobbly under the steering. So he was trying to make a passer on the outside of the hairpin.
Stanislav Jedlinski in the Qualy racing car.
Total miscommunication between the two, which isn't the first time Ferrari's seen that, because obviously Callum Isla did it 2 weeks ago in the Indianapolis 8 hours. So could have been a little scary there.
Cedric pulls down into pit lane, currently in position 6. The driver from Monaco, Monte Carlo, quick down onto the pit exit, hard onto the anchors. Take a look at this, the replay. Spirituale turns in and, wow, right at the very last moment, Jedlinski did not see him. There's the second Olympic racing car, as this is the story of the weekend. The 2Cs Motorsport Mercedes, they won at Monza. They were quickest yesterday in practice. Starts his first flying lap. Ethan Simeone, the Canadian, sharing the car with the Croatian who's behind the wheel, Martin Kodric. Goes to P2. They were quickest yesterday in practice.
Yeah, we had 3 practice sessions because you have your driver 1 and your driver 2, and then obviously we have the AM class as well, so we get a little more time for them. The Olymp racing car actually held up Brendan Irie at the end of the previous lap, so I don't think people are particularly happy with that Audi at the moment. We're still following the number 9 Kodric. 0.265 seconds between himself and Jim Pla, which is a very small gap around a circuit like this. But we've got 7 seconds covering our top 16 cars, so potentially we're not really seeing the true pace of most of these runners at the moment.
A 30-minute qualifying session this morning, and the first of our 2 races this weekend getting underway at 10 minutes to 3 local time. That's a 70-minute race. We're back tomorrow morning to qualify again, another 30-minute qualifying session, and of course a 60-minute race to round out the 2021 championship. The ACCA car, which was quick, Jim Pla's just had a time to lead it, as has car 97. That is the Robbie Foley, Michael Dynan, TF Sport, Aston Martin. So Jim Pla still on top of our timing screens at the moment. He's done a couple of laps. One time will be deleted as we watch Martin Kodric come across the line.
Yeah, and he might have exceeded track limits there as well at the penultimate corner. Had to kind of back up coming because he saw 2 cars going very slowly into the pit entry, and that compromised his exit. We're now looking at the Olymp Audi, which has got in the way of several cars already. Hopefully the 2Cs Motorsport car can get through fine as they go through turns 1 and 2, and I don't think he's going to let him by, which is a shame because these are 2 different class cars. There's really no need to hold up GTOpen car if you're in one of the GT4 spec cars, and he has now let him through, but he's probably cost him a second there through the first sector.
Yeah, that's that lap gone for the 2Cs Motorsport car of Kodric, who is still in position 1. Stanislav Jedlinski, car 5, as you watch one of the GT Cup cars come down into pit lane. Jan Harrison, the Belgian driver, in the 54 Porsche, had a fantastic run at Monza in the rain. Mixed it with the GT3 cars as we look at Brendan Irie, the American driver. Car 7 for Optimum Motorsport down in pit lane. This is Al Faisal Al-Zubair. Of course, he'll be sharing that car with Andy Soucek. As we mentioned, Andy in his 2nd home race of the season. Still 3rd in the championship. Kodric goes down at the bottom of your screen. Marcin Jedlinski, who is sharing the 777 Mercedes with his countryman Karel Bash. The 2 Olympic racing cars. 1 from Audi, 1 from Mercedes. The 777 car of Marcin Jedlinski currently in P9. We'll see if he improves his time. Some good middle sectors, very quick in a straight line, just over 260 kilometres an hour. So not quite Monza speeds. Runs off the circuit, a ragged exit. Comes through turn 16 now. We watch the clock of Marcin Jedlinski as he comes across the line. We approach the halfway point of this qualifying session. Jedlinski actually drops down to P11 as Sean Balfe improves. Brendan Irie, who was in P3, car 7, drops back to P8. And the sole Honda, Jens Renault-Moller, in P7. Jens Renault-Moller with a 1:45.575 is just behind the 72 McLaren of Nick Moss. Finally, the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghinis come out onto the circuit as we look at the TF Sport Aston Martin of the American Michael Dynan.
Yeah, Michael Dynan currently in 12th place, 4th in the pro class, and obviously you're going for class points as well as overall position in GTOpen. But at the back of the pro class grid at the moment is, of course, the 2 VSR Lambo, because they are yet to sell a lap. You see one of the Porsches cross the line, number 27. No improvement there. So our leading GT Cup Open Europe car is Jan Laursen in 15th place, 3.96 seconds. So that's closer than we were kind of expecting these 2 classes of cars to be. There's another gap of around 3 seconds to the next one, which is kind of more similar. We're going to look at the 2Cs Motorsport car in the pit. Hasn't got the rear left wheel on, so I don't think he's going anywhere soon. And now on board with Darmetko.
Maciej Darmetko, who is at position 2 in the GT Cup Open Championship. Incidentally, the drivers from Poland, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the GT Cup Open Championship. Maciej Blachek and Maciej Michalski, they're P1 in the GT Cup Open Championship on 69 points. Maciej Darmetko and Artur Janos in this car. They're second in the championship on 51 points. And Dirk Schouten and Nicolas van Derendonk, 47 points for the Belgian-Dutch combination. Matej Darmeko just winds up to get in a lap as we approach the halfway point of the first of two qualifying sessions here this weekend. Down into turn 10, the newly reprofiled turn 10, which has been work done over the past 12 months. It's really not, well, visibly from our point of view, it's not that different.
Yeah, I think because for the last few seasons, particularly when we finished the GTOpen season here, that corner has been a place of crashes, very close battles. I think it was Stefan Ortelli last year holding up one of the leading contenders for about 20 laps, which was an incredible scene to see, but kind of broke the rules. And because it was how tight that corner was, it allowed drivers to do that and obviously go for a bit too ambitious overtakes. Now it's opened up a bit and it's more higher speeds. You're potentially going to see more side-by-side action, but less of it's going to come off, because if you're on the outside, you're simply just going to get kind of pushed wide too much and you're going to have to back out the move. Seeing they're still warming up tyres, they've done that from the second sector down to the pit straight, but of course, when you go down a long straight, the tyres lose temperature. So you do actually have to weave to generate that heat back up, and more importantly, the pit straight is entirely in shadow at the moment. So track temps are probably 3 or 4 degrees lower than they are in kind of sector 2 of the lap.
This is the championship leader on your screen, Frederik Schandorf, the Great Dane, who of course won the Pro-Am Championship in the GTOpen International Championship 2019, looking to win it outright this weekend. Frederik Schandorf sharing the car with Michele Beretta. Schandorf behind the wheel for this, the first qualifying session, and therefore he will start the race later this afternoon on his first flying lap. The VSR team did wait to send their 2 green Lamborghinis out onto the circuit. You can see the TF Sport Aston Martin, which did take the win, that car, and raced to at the Red Bull Ring in the hands of Sam DeHaan and Charlie Eastwood. 2 American drivers behind the wheel this weekend. Frederik Schandorf will actually get something of a slipstream as he comes out of turn 16 onto the straight, and Schandorf comes across the line to set his first flying lap, and it's P2 behind Martin Kodrich. So it's Kodrich P1 with a 143.848, Schandorf 43.885 in P2, Jim Pla, Al Faisal Al-Zubair, Nick Box, car 72 in P5, Florian Schultz, Jan Seifert, Jens Renault Muller, Brendan Ireb in 9, and Cedric Spiritzoli in P10.
And the Aston Martin is really holding out that VSR Lambo. Finally, I think, going to let him through down the inside of turn 4, but they still got a little too close. Mirrors almost touched now. There was a 0.037 second gap between Kodrich's provisional pole lap and what Schandorf set last time by. He was definitely held up by that Aston Martin, so I suspect if he's even lost half a tenth by being behind him, that's cost him provisional pole at the moment. So we do know that Lamborghini does have more pace than it has shown, and that was its first flying lap. Everyone else has set at least 1 or 2 more and done so kind of on the, so you do an out lap, a push lap, and then you drive almost in the same style on the next lap, but because you've got the heat fully into the tyres, as long as you've got no traffic, that will be your qualifying lap, if that makes sense. That's hopefully the lap that will be your fastest of that run. And Schandorf hasn't reached that point yet.
Another good sector from Frederik at the moment as he goes through the middle part of the circuit. Currently P2, Martin Kodrich though. That looks menacing. He was quickest, or ominous is probably the correct adjective. He was quickest in practice yesterday. They took a brilliant win at Monza. Martin Kodrich and Ethan Simeoni in the car 9. The Mercedes for 2Cs Motorsport, and they're currently in position 1. Maybe not for long though, because Schandorf is about to complete his second flying lap. Comes across the line and goes to the top. Frederik Schandorf on provisional pole as one of the AF Force Ferraris. Very wide, and the gravel trap does its job. Cedric Spiritzoli, the driver from Monte Carlo, is still in position 9. He's still on the circuit. A big moment for the Monegasque driver. He's still 9th place. That was almost the second big incident for the AF Corsa team, as one of our Brazilian Porsche Cup cars goes down through, just ahead of Schandorf, who is on provisional pole. The 360 racing team of Marcio Mauro, Oscar Aristot and Fernando Fortes. The Brazilians are back with us for the final round of the GTOpen International Championship as we approach 2/3 distance of this qualifying. So quickly doing some mathematics, which as you may know is not my strong point. A 1:45 lap time divided by about 10 minutes, probably about 5 or 6 laps possible remaining in this qualifying session. For the moment, Schandorf on provisional pole. Here is one of the aforementioned Porsches. That's Fernando Fortes just getting, dare I say, in the way of Schandorf. The 97 Aston going through. Michael Diner, the American, sharing this car with his countryman Robbie Foley, replacing Sam DeHarter, Charlie Eastwood for the Tom Ferrier Motorsport TF Sport Aston Martin team. See where they sit. They're in position 14 at the moment. The race-winning car from the Red Bull Ring. Race 2, they won the 10th race of the championship as Fernando Fortes goes through. Michael Diner, P14 in car 97, and we tick over 20 minutes. We'll see if he can improve as he comes across the line. One position up to 13th with a 146.366. Dirk Shelton goes through at the bottom of your screen. That is Fernando Fortes for the 360 Racing Team, the South American, ahead of the 97 Aston.
Yeah, Fortes was holding up Schandorf, now he's holding up the Aston Martin. Well, it looked like he was going a little too slow there. Was the number 54 Porsche, which is down in 17th place, Jan Lauritsen. Here's a replay. So taking the first curve, going down through the chicane, fine. Has he potentially just locked the brakes going into the actual chicane bit of the chicane? Oh, he's actually completely lost the rear end.
Wow, the back's just stepped out of Jan Lauritsen.
Now, if you've got a mid-engine car, the rear tyres are doing more of the brake weight, it's more evenly distributed, whereas obviously you've got a front-engine car, more of the weight's on the front axle. So it's very strange to see a mid-engine car just loop it entirely like that, and such a low-speed corner as that chicane as well. He's allowing the Ferrari through, potentially flat-spotted the tyres, and the Ferrari, has had a bit of a messy session as well.
Well, fortunately, it was a low-speed spin for Jan Lauritsen, so it looked as though it was probably not too much damage for the Michelin tyres.
What it also is with that chicane as well is most chicanes like Monza, for example, it's totally flat, but that's downhill, and I think it's negative camber on the entry as well. So the rear end, naturally gravity is going to take it round, but if you've actually got the brakes applied, it shouldn't, go that loose and spin around. So a bit of a strange thing to see with the Porsche. Dino Zamparelli back in the championship now. He started this season in the most incredible way possible. I think he was over a second faster than the rest of the field at Paul Ricard, but then the weekend kind of unraveled from there, and we didn't really see that car too much in the championship afterwards, but we do know that the Zamparelli Porsche in GTOpen has the pace to be at the front.
Great to see Dino back in the championship, a really highly rated driver. Despite his surname, he is as British as the Queen.
Bristol Sports, go Bristol. Yeah, Lando Norris, I think, is a member of Bristol Sport as well.
Actually, Lando's a Bristonian as well, isn't he? As is Dino, who is on your screen in the 991, a Beluga Racing Porsche.
There used to be plans for a Bristol Street Circuit, actually. Because obviously you have the Tour de Britain cycling race, and there was a proposal for a racing circuit, but never really went anywhere.
Birmingham street race style.
F3000,
wow.
We wish. It'd have to be a lot lower speed, because the roads are a little narrower in Bristol, which is a great place if you want to go visit. It's the Barcelona of England.
Zamparelli pulls down into pit lane. This is Martin Kodrich, who is in position 2. Interesting that you do mention Formula 3000, because this is not the first class that has been out on the circuit. We had the Max Formula cars out on track to just basically clean up the circuit and entertain us and bring back some nostalgic memories. Former Formula 1 IndyCar F2 cars, they were spectacular. They were first out on track.
Yeah, one of them is spectacular as well, though, because the former Dino Franchitti IRL chassis just basically set on fire entirely on the track on Thursday, and it got dragged back into this. It was just, the front end was still intact, but the rear was just ash. And we're never going to see that car again, sadly, which is a great shame. Number 9, Kodrich, going very slowly. So you can see, if you're going that slow, you shouldn't really be able to spin the car. But it's a front-engine car. The front tyres are going to do more of that braking force, therefore the car's going to be stopped quicker. And in a race, this is going to be particularly interesting if we're having a battle between the 2 Mercedes and the 2 Lambos up front, because tyre wear, particularly on the fronts, is going to be a lot more of an issue with the Mercedes. But the Lambo equally has that huge engine, it's a heavy car, it's also going to be hard on those tyres. So you potentially have the Aston Martin, far lighter, far more nimble, but potentially not as quick because it doesn't have as much power, being the car to have over a race distance.
Marcin Jedlinski comes across the line in the 777 Mercedes. and goes to P10 with a 1:45.287. and was languishing down in 15th or 16th position. A good lap from Jedlinski, who just knocks Jens Renomola and Brendan Irib outside the top 10. Cedric Spirituali, who's in position 7, pulls down into pit lane. We can see Fernando Fortes going through. There's one of the GT4 Mercedes in front of one of the GT3 Mercedes, the GT3 777 car, as Fortes just pulls off the racing line at the very last moment.
That is the number 47. So where is he at the moment? Florian Scholz is down in 9th place. We've normally seen quite good pace from Scholz this season, fighting with the Pro Class cars. He is in the Pro-Am class, and he's currently, well, he was in 4th place, but I think Nick Moss has just gone across the line and moved into 3rd place in class, so he's in 8th place overall. 1.8 seconds covering our top 11 cars, which is very impressive. And Jan Font we've actually got more than one AM class car this weekend, so not a guaranteed victory, down in 15th and 3.6 seconds back.
This is the Green Tiger 17 of Jan Seifert, who's gone into position 5. So currently in the dying stages of qualifying as he slides sideways on the exit. Does Jan? It is Frederick Schandorf in the similar green machine. P1 on pole position with a 43.448. Martin Kodrich, P2 in the Mercedes with a 43.848. Jim Pla, welcome back to GTOpen International Racing. On your screen now in P3, he comes across the line. Will he improve? He's gone purple in the middle sector. Goes to the top. Jim Pla for the Acker Motorsport team. Provisional pole position with just over 3.5 minutes remaining. Down into turn 1, Jim Pla records a 1:43.152, almost 0.3 of a second faster than the championship leader. So the Mercedes knocks the Lamborghini off the top spot. Martin Kodrich is in P3 ahead of Yuki Nomoto for VSR. What a lap from Jim Pla as he goes by the 215 NM Racing Team car, August Macbeth, and the local driver, Albert Estraguez, who has sadly switched teams. I say sadly because he was trying to campaign that unique, let's say in this part of the world, Ford Mustang. It did not start the previous race at Monza.
Well, it's a Trans Am Euro, so it's a bodied car, it's a body shell to look like a Ford Mustang, but in reality it's almost like, not Lego, but you can put anything in it to essentially have the car you want, and that's how Trans Am kind of market their cars. You know, like take this engine, take this body shell, go compete with it. But it has proven a little unreliable since debuting last year.
Yes, uncommon. It is as common as fresh air over the other side of the Atlantic, but here it is quite unique. It did not start the previous round of Monza. So Albert Estraguez has switched to race in the 215 NM Racing Team Mercedes GT4 as you look at Martin Kodrich, who's now being held up ever so slightly by the 44 K-Met Porsche. Eugenio Pisani and Stefano Bozzoni. So Kodrich still in P3. Jim Pla is on pole position for the moment with 2 minutes remaining, potentially 2 more flying laps. This is qualifying GTOpen International, the 2021 championship, the final round, round 7 of the championship, which will be decided here this weekend in Barcelona.
Yeah, Pla's now in the pits, so we've still got Kodrich on track, and then we've got Nick Moss and Brendan Irene. Now he was, Kodrich set his fastest final sector on the previous lap, but then got held up at the start of this lap, so there was more in the tyres. He's potentially lost that opportunity to go faster now, and it does look like he has already backed off. With 1 minute 27 to go, potentially the driver to watch is Brendan Irene down in 9th place. He'll be looking for to get higher up the Pro-Am class order, and of course in the GT Cup Open Europe AM class, because we have a Pro-Am and an AM class side. We've got August Macbeth, don't say the name of the plane, in 21st place, currently on provisional pole for that class, and then obviously Fernando Fortes in 25th.
So just under 1 minute remaining in qualifying for the final round of the 2021 championship. Jim Pla is on provisional pole position with a 1:43.152. Schandorf P2 and Martin Kodrich on your screen. Will he pull down in pit lane, satisfied with P3, or fire it up for another lap? In fact, it is the later. Here comes Martin. with 30 seconds remaining. One more final crack to attack for pole position here in Spain. Comes across the line just in time. So it is Jimpla, Schandorf and the driver on your screen. One final shot at pole position. This is the provisional pole sitter. Jimpla steps out of the car, has to wait for Kodric to complete the lap. We'll keep an eye on the sectors of the Croatian driver, but for the moment, regardless, Jimpla more than satisfied with his lap time. Will start somewhere near the front of the grid, and quite likely pole position. There is the checkered flag. We're watching the times as Brendan Irib also on his final flying lap. There's the checkered flag coming out. The first across the line is Jedlinski, the 777 Olymp Racing car P11. Brendan Irib, it's not going to do it on this lap. Brendan Irib down in P9 in car 7, way off the pace. He'll miss the chance to do another lap. Nick Moss, his teammate, car 72 in position 6. Sean Balfe Motorsport out on track in car 22. Sean behind the wheel in position 13. Trying to improve as well. Jan Lauritsen makes way for the Audi down through the chicane. We're watching Sean Balfe, who's currently going to start from the 7th row of the grid unless he can improve something spectacular in the final corner. Comes across the line. We'll check the time. It's not a bad lap. We'll see if he can improve. The answer is no. P13 for the Balfe Motorsport Audi, sharing that car with the Northern Irishman, Adam Carroll.
And no improvement from Kodric, so I don't think when he completes this lap, he'll be challenging for pole over. Schandorf actually pitted several minutes prior to Jimpla even pitting, so these two were so confident that they had the pace, whereas it looks like there's a bit of traffic for two of the cars still out there.
Kodric has pitted. It will not be pole for the Croatian. We are watching Florian Schultz, who's had a quiet session. The Antonelli Motorsport Mercedes down in position 10 at the moment, and pulls into pit lane, aborts the lap. It'll be a row 5 start for the AKM Motorsport team. Florian Schultz sharing the car with Laura Spinelli, of course. August Macbeth comes across the line in position 21, of course, racing in the GT Cup class. So Jimpla has done it, has taken pole position for the Acus Sport team. August Macbeth goes down into turn 1 in the 215 NM Racing team car, sharing the car with Albert Estragas, who we spoke about just a few moments ago. So Jimpla, welcome back to GTOpen International Championship, has taken pole position with a 143.152. Almost 0.3 of a second ahead of the championship leader, Frederik Schandorf. Martin Kodric, P3. Will skip down to P7 because Al-Faisal Al-Zubair sharing the car with Andy Soucek as Jens Renault Moller pulls into pit lane. Grid 12 for the sole Honda NSX racing here this weekend.
And we've got Jan Font on AM Class pole, but we can't even see the second AM Class car on our timing screens. So they must be, and actually we're going to see it now. So Jedlinski and Straben, so that's almost 8-second gap between our pole and second place. And then in GT Cup Open Europe, Jan Lauritsen on pole by over a second and Adino Zamparelli.
Third place on the grid for Tooth Seas Motorsport with the Croatian driver Martin Kodric with a 143.704. Frederik Schandorf, the championship leader who was on provisional pole position for much of the session, will start from the outside of the front row of the grid for race 1 this afternoon. Pole position for ACA Motorsport, the French driver in car 87. The Mercedes on pole being driven by Jimpla, the pole sitter down in pit lane. Let's hear from the pole sitter now.
Jimpla, first appearance in the GTOpen and pole position.
Yeah, it was great this morning. The car was good. We had a good strategy, I think, with the traffic and so on. So yeah, I'm really happy for the team, for my teammate. Now we have a race 1 today, and then we will see tomorrow. But yeah, really happy to join this championship for the final, and yeah, happy to be on pole. So thanks a lot.
Of course, there is a fight for the championship this afternoon, but you will be in front. How you see the race this afternoon?
Well, I'm just focused on my own race, you know. Then the rest, I'll let decide it. But yeah, for sure, I will do my job and then we will see. But yeah, I'm not so worried.
Well done. All the best.
Thank you.
Jim Pla for Acker Sport takes pole position with a time of 1:43.152. And we'll start from pole position with Frederick Schandorf, the championship leader, on the outside of the front row of the grid. Mercedes versus Lamborghini for race 1 this afternoon. 29 cars on the grid for race 1, a 70-minute race. It will get underway. The green flag will fly at 10 minutes to 3 local time. Thanks for joining us. Jim Pla to start on pole position for race 1, the final round of the GTOpen International Championship. We'll see you back here just before 3 o'clock local time here in Barcelona, Spain, for race 1, round 7, the GTOpen International Championship final. We'll see you this afternoon.